There have been numerous attempts to stop this film. We've been hacked, drives have been stolen, hacked again, all kinds of things like that. But now we've put it back together again. Let's hope this version isn't hacked. I don't know whether I'm hallucinating or not, but it seems to me I'm in heaven or some smoky place. I don't really know. As I say, I'm totally disoriented, really. I don't know who's after me or what's going on, as I say.
Jack, I don't believe it. I'm standing on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. It's unbelievable, Jack. How can I thank you? Oh my God. Nobody's gonna believe this up there.
Hello? Is there anyone here? Hello? Oh. Oh, hello there. Can you hear me? Hello, hello? Is there anyone here? I don't know what's going on. Hello? 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 Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Excuse me, sir. I don't know where I am.
Oh. How are you? I'm sorry, I was a little distracted here. My, you're early. I wasn't expecting you so soon. You've been brought here, and by the way, congratulations for making it this far.
Excuse me, sir. Who are you?
To put it simply, I'm an angel.
So,
You know?
so you say you're an angel?
Oh, I in fact am an angel, yeah.
So, where are we, sir? Where are we?
You're in heaven.
Well, I think you are a nut, or of course, I'm in heaven. Good one, good one.
No, you listen, like I said, I'm new at this, and I apologize. I'm sure this has come as a great shock to you. I have a confession. I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to what you've been doing down there. Awfully confusing. I guess you probably don't know this, but you're dead.
Wait a minute. You just said I'm dead.
You are dead. standing in a garden, kind of like we are right now. And I was kind of tending my plants here, and I kind of looked down, and I see this guy sneaking up beside you. This guy snuck up. You didn't know. You didn't hear. Next thing you know, boom, blew your fucking brains out. All over the garden. Oh yeah, you're dead, and you're in heaven. Which is puzzling because you're a filmmaker, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, I'm a filmmaker.
I love films. I love films. You know, I saw a little bit of this movie that you've been making, and I got to be honest, and please don't take this the wrong way. I don't understand what the fuck this movie that you're making is about. I mean, it's a spy thing or something?
That's right, it's a history of spying.
The history of spying?
It's history of spying really in the 20th century and a bit of the 21st century.
Like a James Bondish kind of a... But I don't know who's who. I don't know whose side's on who, or... Are you...
Well, hang on, sir. I mean, if I'm dead, I haven't had the opportunity to finish the film, have I? So I can't answer your questions if the film isn't finished.
That is a real problem, and that's why you're here. And I am here to help you with that. What I think we should do is sit down, give it a good look. Maybe you'll see something, or something that you've looked at 100 times, and all of a sudden something sparks your memory, and you'll have one of those aha moments, you know, kind of like what you're experiencing. This is a real aha. This is an oh fuck moment, I know. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna make you a promise right now, right here and now, right here in heaven and now. We're gonna find out who killed you. We're gonna find out. I'm not going to get real technical here with you, but this is... oh, look at this. That's you coming to heaven. That's you entering the pearly gates. Yeah. Everything in your entire life is on film here. It's a complete library of everybody that's ever lived. You know, I don't even know what your name is.
Well, my name is Jack, Greg. I mean, you know, Lord Steinway down there, but Lord doesn't mean anything up here, does it? Like that.
Only to one guy, Jack. Only to one guy.
Good evening. My name is Lord Steinway. I'm in Wrocław, Poland, in search of spies. This was an incredible city during the Third Reich. It was called Breslau, and it was given back to the Poles at the Potsdam Conference in 1945, when the Allies carved off a bit of the Third Reich to give back to the Polish people for reparations. This area was a hotbed of espionage during the Cold War. Spies came here, CIA, KGB, and they swapped documents right here. I've double-checked my facts on Wrocław being a hotbed. It was not a hotbed of espionage. It was simply a bed. These women look like they're just tourists, but typically this is what spies looked like during the Cold War. Old ladies, old men pretending to be tourists, looking at churches, but actually switching documents and so on. It's a very good example of espionage in the Cold War. My face is dark. My face is in the shadows of espionage. Now I'm going to show you where spies would meet in the street during the Cold War in various European cities. It's just like this. A truck would come by. Innocuous. Looks normal. It's not. There's an espionage drop going on. One of the most common places where espionage took place and these secret operatives met was on bridges like this. Inside this cathedral, those blasphemers, the KGB, those terrible blasphemers, were sarcastic and thought it was great fun to swap information inside a cathedral. The KGB being sarcastic atheists loved transferring secret information in churches and cathedrals throughout Europe. So, but you thought I was shot by a man, so this could be a woman dressed as a man.
Bingo. See?
A woman dressed as a man. They have excellent beer in Poland, and I've always thought that to know a country, you must understand the beer. Her name was Magda.
Magda.
And she was a real spy.
She was young.
She was very, and they start them young. You know, it's you know, jail bait, isn't it? It's not even jail bait. It's bait. So Both sides used women in a unwholesome way, really, and young men too, for those of that persuasion. A friend of mine from Czechoslovakia said that the difference between communism and capitalism is that in capitalism man exploits man, but in communism it's the other way around. I'm waiting here to meet a very young spy, a woman who was working in intelligence here in Poland, and she turned out to be quite a important spy. She's agreed for me to take photos and film her. Does this have any special meaning?
Yeah. Well, when I was in high school, I was kind of pretentious, and I did a lot of, Jean-Paul Sartre readings, and yeah, that's why that question mark.
So is it true that you're the granddaughter of Joseph Stalin?
Well, no, not exactly. It was my code name when I've been working for the intelligence.
Oh, your code name. How long were you working for intelligence?
I worked for intelligence for about 6 months, so it was pretty fresh.
We're going to go inside this antique bookshop, and with my assistant, we're going to show you how a information swap is done. Watch carefully for the exchange of documents. Murder me again, please. Murder me again, please. It was fantastic. Fantastic. Welcome, Dr. William Burns, an expert on the Cold War, world famous. We're very pleased to have you here. What would you say remain as the biggest unanswered questions of the Cold War?
Who won? Still the biggest question in my mind, because I don't take it as a matter of fact that the United States won the Cold War. Here's my take on the Cold War. You know who won? The Nazis. When you look at Operation Paperclip, and you see how the scientists, and not just the rocket scientists, but the scientists in Operation Paperclip collaborated with each other on both sides of the Iron Curtain. There's a reason the Soviets got into space first with Sputnik. Werner von Braun and our NASA scientists, well, there wasn't NASA at that point, but our military rocketry scientists were giving their information to the Soviet scientists. And the Soviet scientists were giving their information to us. And when you see how many people who were actual war criminals, people like Stuckhold, who invented the spaceship, the spacesuit, von Braun, people like Krikdebus, who was an electrical engineer in Poland in the Owl Mountains in Project Riza at the end of the war, now turning up as the NASA launch control director. The major Nazi scientists escaped any prosecution whatsoever for the crimes they committed. I mean, you know what Krikdebus was doing? Krikdebus was taking concentration camp prisoners in a nearby camp in Poland, putting them in pressure chambers and making the pressure so excruciatingly high that their eyes would burst, blood would flow out of them, and if they didn't die, he'd use a gas chamber. That's how awful this guy was. And now he's a NASA director?
I am a method historian. That means I go to the locations and feel the ambience of where the spies actually met during the Cold War. So I've been all over the world and gone to these locations so that I can bring you, the viewer, the feel of where these events occurred.
Don't ask, don't tell, don't ask, don't tell, don't ask, don't lift the mask, don't tell or go to hell, don't ask. Don't tell, don't ask, don't tell, don't ask, don't lift the mask, don't tell or go to hell. Just keep up with ambiguity. That way you keep your annuity. Just keep up with lying, never show you are crying. Just keep up with lying, never show you are crying. The laws may have changed, but that doesn't stop the deranged. Oklahoma was once a musical, it was painted as beautiful. Americana became a song in your heart, then things became torn apart. The bigots and cowards bullied the minority, attacking the modernity. Terrified of truth, terrified of truth, trying to stop the deranged. Oklahoma was once a musical, it was painted as beautiful. Americana became a song in your heart, then things became torn apart. The bigots and cowards bullied the minority, attacking the modernity. Terrified of truth, terrified of truth. Terrified of truth, terrified of truth, trying to stop history. Ignorance is a mystery, ignorance is a mystery. Don't ask, don't tell, don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask, don't lift the mask, don't tell or go to hell.
That fellow in the distance there with the bag, you'd never really realize that he just looks like a tourist, but he's one of the greatest spies of the 21st century. In that bag are many secrets, many, many secrets. Let's go back to the Cold War. So you go to East Berlin, and how did you explain to the Germans that you were speaking English with a German accent? And didn't they say, well, you know, didn't they just talk to you in German?
Yes, but the thing is, I can always speak in the genuine language because I do know 46 languages fluently. I mean, if they want to speak, for instance, nach Frankreich zogen zwei Grenadier, sie fahren in Russland gefangen.
So what did that mean in English? What was that in English?
I don't know.
I've had a look at your file, as you can probably imagine, in preparation for this training video. But when you were at Oxford, I understand that you were in the Shakespeare Society, and I understand that you did a terrific Hamlet.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
Well, this is very, very true, and at that time I was studying Shakespeare with the Enigma Code breakers, and as you know, the whole of Shakespeare, and even the play Hamlet, the Hamlet play about Romeo and Juliet, the whole Titus Andronicus debacle in East Germany, we would play with the words, the Shakespearean words, and we would, you know, eventually we would have an incredible code. So you could go on stage and you could say, to be or not to be, that is the question, but it meant something totally different.
Oh, I see. So Shakespeare was used as code.
No, very much so, by the whole MI6, MI5, MI4, MI3, MI2.
So have you been using I mean, you don't tell me if it's classified to a degree. I mean, are you using Shakespeare code now, for example, Macbeth or something?
Well, whenever I talk, unfortunately, these days, even though I'm in retirement, the code is always with me, you know. And so I might be speaking to my, you know, say to one of my housekeepers, you know, I have many housekeepers, and I might just say something like, let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments, which means, get me a cup of tea. Whatever was appropriate. I mean, it was a very, very complex coding that was worked out by Sir Walter and by Lady Penelope.
Was it Lady Penelope who did the... Lady Penelope did the steeped in blood file?
That was incredible. How do you know about that?
Well, it's famous, you know, amongst certain circles. I mean, they don't show me everything, but that was a very famous, because steeped in blood, and as you know, they became steeped in blood that time.
Well, that's very true, and that was one of the most traumatic situations that any of our people have been lost in, and that was, as you know, that was in Dubrovnik.
Oh, that was the Dubrovnik.
1961. Yes, that was 1961. That was just after the JFK thing.
Oh, I see.
The Bay of Pigs and the...
Look, this is a footnote, because I do love Shakespeare, and I love the, you know, the ephemera. Is it true that Oswald, when he defected to Moscow, is it true that he did Shakespeare for the KGB? And if he did, what play was it?
The play, if I remember, was Lear. And Oswald was actually playing the title role.
Incredible.
Absolutely incredible. Because he was, as you know, he was a Marine, and he went to Moscow in 1960, where he was trained to kill President Kennedy with 3 bullets. And in fact, as we know now, the president shot himself.
Well, well, that's a big red herring, the whole JFK thing, because, you know, that's under file D, for God's sake. I don't think you should be bringing up D matters right now.
I don't think anybody cares anymore, really.
Well, I don't. It's just a matter of principle. If it's a D file, I think we just should...
Put a lid on it, you mean?
Well, I'm not going to show this to the youngsters here now.
Well, I hope nobody's going to see this.
No, well, I told you, some of this is for educational purposes, but not the D files, Gregory.
This guy is puzzling to me. He could be behind your untimely death, so to speak. I'm completely confused by him. I think he's out of his fucking mind, if you want to know the truth. I think he thinks he's a spy. I just think he's out of his fucking mind.
I mean, he was tortured, and then he was a geek, and he got files. He was a computer geek, and he got files, a million files of secret stuff from the Americans, and then he basically went nuts after that.
So, basically what you have here is a complete geek with information that could change the course of history. Is this the guy that you've been chasing?
He was one of them, yeah, exactly. I mean, spies used to drink martinis. This guy drinks cherry soda or something. Carrot juice. He's a vegan as well.
My God.
What you are seeing in America, and you're seeing this in Europe too, especially in France right now, what you're seeing is the rise, the uncovering of the Fourth Reich.
Oh my God!
John, I understand that you worked for a very big American intelligence agency. I know we can't say the name of it, but you were an agent for
one of the alphabet.
One of the you were an agent for 30 years, right?
More or less, yeah.
You agreed to do an interview with me, didn't you?
Yes, obviously, or I wouldn't be here.
So, is it true you know Edward Snowden?
No comment.
How long were you posted in Berlin?
No comment. No comment. No comment. No comment.
Well, I can see that you must have been a very good spy, John, because I haven't been able to get anything out of you whatsoever. I'm not quite sure why you agreed to do the interview.
I have been wondering that myself, to be frank. But I'm not Frank. I'm John Smith.
I mean, you told me you were prepared to talk to me. So, I mean, you know, if you change your mind, I understand. But you're obviously a
I'm prepared to sing for you.
My name is Kim Philby. Some think it rhymes with treason for good reason. I love the smell of betrayal in the morning. especially when it hits without warning. If you feel me perverse, go back to your wet nurse. I am of the British upper class. I know which secrets to pass. I became an early Marxist out of belief. With Hitler I had a real enemy, what a relief! Oh, what a relief it is to have a real enemy, oh, what a relief! He was the public enemy number one I cracked, as I used the elements of my craft to bring the bastard down as he blitzed my town. London town is falling down, so bring the bastard down. We did, we did, we did. We brought the bastard down. The mass serial killer was a dead psycho clown. Then the Cold War started. I had to bet on red. So many had already bled. Then every time Stalin farted, there would be a flare-up, a punch-up, a political cock-up. If Stalin had an erection, we'd have a new election, a new direction, new direction!
Philby, on the right, holds a press conference to deny charges that he was involved in the disappearance of Burgess and McLean.
Well, if there was a third man, were you in fact the third man?
No, I was not.
Do you think there was one?
No comment.
Well, Mr. Philby, the disappearance of Burgess and McLean is almost as much of a mystery today as it was when they went away about 4 years ago or more. Can you shed any light on it at all?
No, I can't.
Do you have any other reason for keeping silent, Mr. Philby?
I have. The efficiency of our security services can only be impaired if their organization and techniques are discussed in public.
I'd like to ask you one more question, Mr. Philby. The Foreign Office asked you to resign because of your imprudent association, as you called it, with Burgess. Do you think that was fair?
I understood perfectly well their reasons for doing so. Question of fairness, sort of.
Mr. Philby, Mr. McMillan, the Foreign Secretary, said there was no evidence that you were the so-called third man who allegedly tipped off Burgess and McLean. Are you satisfied with that clearance that he gave you?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Philby, you were asked to resign yourself from the Foreign Office a few months after Burgess and McLean disappeared, and Mr. McMillan has said that you had communist associations. Is that why you were asked to resign?
I was asked to resign from the Foreign Office because of an imprudent association with Burgess, and as a result of his disappearance.
So,
beyond that, I'm afraid I've got no further comment to make.
Can you say when your communist associations ended, if I assume they did?
The last time I spoke to a communist, knowing that he was a communist, was sometime in 1934.
That right? Mr. Philby, you were asked to resign yourself from the Foreign Office a few months after Burgess and McLean disappeared, and the Foreign Secretary has said that in the past you had communist associations. Is that why you were asked to resign?
I was asked to resign because of an imprudent association.
That was your association with Burgess?
Correct.
What about these alleged communist associations? Can you say anything about them?
The last time I spoke to a communist, knowing him to be a communist, was sometime in 1934.
That rather implies that you have also spoken to communists unknowingly and you now know about it.
Well, I spoke to Burgess last in April or May 1951.
He gave you no idea that he was planning to go?
Never.
Would you still regard Burgess, who lived with you for a while in Washington, would you still regard him as a friend of yours? How do you feel about him now?
I consider his action deplorable. On the subject of friendship, I prefer to say as little as possible, because it's very complicated.
You have any other reason for keeping silent, Mr. Philby?
I have. The efficiency of our security services can only be impaired if their organizations and techniques are discussed in public.
I'd like to ask you one more question, Mr. Philby. The Foreign Office asked you to resign because of your imprudent association, as you called it, with Burgess. Do you think that was fair?
I understood perfectly well their reasons for doing so.
Kim Philby was a bad lot, as John le Carré called him. A bad lot means a stinker, a traitor, a bastard, a horrible bloke. You can see in his interviews he is kind of slimy and nervous, but what an incredible spy he turned out to be. He was a KGB general and he was helping James Angleton, a CIA maven, advising him on how to set up the CIA. I mean, that's quite extraordinary. Angleton never got over the fact that Philby betrayed him, and this created paranoia in the United States intelligence services, probably up to this very day. I mean, here you have the head of the anti-Soviet British intelligence, Kim Philby, advising the US on how to set up spying against the KGB, and he was the KGB. That's why they say he was the spy of the century.
Some background. When I started this film, I wanted to make a film, a straight film, really, about spying and the Cold War. As soon as I mentioned the Cold War, the financial honchos that I have to go to basically yawned and their eyes glazed over. But when I said, you know what, I'm going to make a movie about the Cold War as a musical. Yes, a musical. Immediately they perked up, and I thought, I've got it. I'm going to make a musical about the Cold War so I can get all this important history out and also attract people who are into musicals to have a look at it. So interspersed with this very serious study are musical numbers that I personally have written that are sections and key episodes in the Cold War.
Stop! 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 I loved Kim Philby. I loved Kim Philby, and he loved me. He loved me all right. Guy is right. This was all about creating a better world. Ideals unfold. That was our hope, our dream. I introduced Kim to the KGB. We hated fascism, as you see. So a woman was involved here. That's me. As you men prance on with peacock feathers of treason, but the real reason for Kim's passion was his passion for me. So he secretly joined the Communist Party. I resisted his advances and insisted he joined. Before I undressed, if you know what I mean. Before I undressed, if you know what I mean. Our sex changed history. It's now a mystery. Marxism was an aphrodisiac in our time. This sounds crude, I know. But facts are facts, and love is always key. And my tits changed history. 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 My tits changed history.
What I'd like to know, with your supernatural powers, is who in my film do you think could have conspired to murder me? I mean, for example, this actress.
Oh, she's hot. You know her?
Well, of course I know her. I filmed her for the musical.
And that is not a mystery.
Well, I don't think that was her. I really don't.
I'm with Special Agent Milakovsky, a great dancer, and she's going to demonstrate to you how dance is code for spies. So what are these? Explain to me what you were doing.
So these are code dances that I use to interpret messages, send messages to people in London, New York, Brazil.
Are these moves, are they words or letters? How complicated is this code?
Well, I mean, it can get very complicated.
Where did you perform these code dances? In cabarets or where?
Cabarets. I'm actually not allowed to really reveal all of that information, but definitely cabarets, yes.
In the meantime, plans are being made for that day comes, and the Communist Party's most important work is that of espionage in behalf of the Soviet Union, which means that it infiltrates our government, defense plans, every important place possible in order to steal information from us and give it to the Soviet Union.
When you shoot a musical, you have to sync up the song with the artist's mouth. This is complicated, this synchronization. I thought I'd try it myself because, after all, I am a method historian. I'm a method historian, and part of that means I get into the characters that I am portraying. Some of these spies dressed up as women, so I'm doing that today.
They call me Martha, but I'm Arta. They used to call me Helen of Troy until I changed my name to Roy. Roy of Troy was just too cute. Too many friends call me to Malta. Read about the ancient freaks kept away from modern freaks.
The KGB and some intelligence services on our side, the West so-called, used extraordinary methods to get information. An extraordinary case is a famous spy called Wrinkle Dryer. Yes, her nickname was Wrinkle and her last name was Dryer. Now what they did to her was they drugged her out with psychedelic drugs, and they made her believe that she was a werewolf. This poor woman, given huge amounts of psychedelic drugs, believed she was a werewolf. They then stripped her and filmed her naked with a wolf tail as blackmail. So that after these films were taken, and we're going to show you some, don't be shocked, although it is quite shocking, that's a warning. After they filmed her naked as a werewolf, they showed these films to her and turned her into a spy.
I don't quite recognize where I am, and I don't quite feel like myself, but seems like it's might be. I'm in a dungeon, some sort of dungeon somewhere.
This is actually a favorite part of your movie, right here. Oh my. Hello. Hello. Huh?
Now, was she an angel?
Oh, she most definitely is an angel. You see a lot of that around here. You know, sometimes guys, girls. You know, the big guys kind of...
But it is true that some of the... Well, she may be an angel now, but it's true that a lot of these people were brainwashed by the enemy.
Yes, and this is in fact true. And between me and you, they get a little brainwashed up here too. She thinks she's got clothes on.
So what is it exactly that happened 6 years ago that pushed you into keeping yourself hidden?
You don't know?
No, I mean, everybody's speculating and everybody has a general idea of what brought you here.
Because I leaked.
I realize you're having one of your post-traumatic stress disorder episodes right now, but I'm here because you called me here and you said you have information that is crucial to the future.
Di cazzo che fai, gravitte, che Bernardo Bertolucci.
You want out or you want to stay here? I've been chased for 5.5 years and I'm here to help, to try to figure out with you who was the third party involved that moved the body from the closet to the stairs.
Well, you know the whole thing with Vladimir. You know what happened with Vladimir and the Buick.
Vladimir is still alive?
No,
What happened to Vladimir?
they chopped him up.
You're not really getting to the information that I'm looking for. You know, you brought me here.
No, I know, but I had to lie down because it's become overwhelming. The whole thing is just, it's just too much. I honestly can't cope anymore.
It sounds like you have an agenda, and you're willing to compromise some sort of information exchange with me, but I'm not quite understanding the depth of which you were tortured and how that has resulted in your confinement. You need to reveal to me what's really going on.
Well, there's a lot going on, but it's beyond me.
I need you to list all the different ways that you were tortured.
I had to listen to Ronald Reagan speeches over and over and over. Oh, that was just, because I'm a Democrat.
So, do you experience symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder?
Well, only when I'm alone.
Are you getting bored?
No.
Now we're getting somewhere. I'd love your opinion on her.
She's hot. I like her glasses.
But was she against me or for me?
That's the problem I'm having. I don't know who's for and again. I don't know who's who, who's good, who's bad. It's not as cut and dry as it is up here. Up here, you know who's good and bad. In
Well,
this,
if I ever get to finish the film, I'll be able to give you some answers.
well, that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to get this film finished.
One of the things that is fascinating about spies is that they love good food. So I went all over the world for you to test good food. But think of this, spies were always concerned that the food may be poisoned.
Deviates, sexual deviates, we must find them everywhere. Mothers beware, look up your daughters and sons. Don't visit your local public toilets, they could be full of bullets. No one is safe in this town, no one is safe in this town. Some deviates are men of renown, some deviates are men of renown, unless urinals are in good department stores where deviates can't ignore social mores. Deviates, sexual deviates, we must find them everywhere. Mothers beware, look up your daughters and sons. Don't visit your local public toilets, they could be full of bullets. No one is safe in this town, no one is safe in this town. Some deviates are men of renown, some deviates are men of renown, unless urinals are in good department stores where deviates can't ignore social mores.
Mr. Turing, you can either go to prison or I'll like a Christ be risen. Maybe we can repeat this, yeah? Mr. Turing, you can either go to prison or like a Christ be risen and undergo a chemical castration with hormone treatment to cure you from your homosexuality, return you to normal.
give a fuck that you helped defeat Hitler?
Or are a pioneer in computer science and artificial intelligence? You are a clever little queer. You are a clever little queer. But the law protecteth me, not you, as does the good Lord. Sing goodbye, son. Au revoir, Gomorrah.
Sing goodbye, Sodom. Au revoir, Gomorrah.
The Cold War normally is regarded by academics as starting after the Second World War, which of course it did. However, the background started earlier.
Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, live and direct from London, the Prime Minister, Sir Winston Churchill.
You have a point, Noel. I have a mission for you. I can use your bite. It will get you out of my sight. We'll try this out. Go to Hollywood. Be a gadabout. Find out which stars are for us, which treat Hitler with largesse, which commies we need to suppress, which commies we need to suppress. Democracy has a lot of enemies. We have no guarantees. We need the power of Hollywood on our side. Otherwise we could be fried. Go to Hollywood, you'll find. Be a gadabout. Find out which stars are for us, which treat Hitler with largesse, which commies we need to suppress, which commies we need to suppress. Find it. Democracy has a lot of enemies. We have no guarantees. We need the power of Hollywood on our side. Otherwise we could be fried. Go be a tinsel party boy, be a grand decoy, and I will then deploy and destroy, deploy and destroy. I have a surprise for you, a colleague already there, a great actor with extraordinary flair. He will be your intelligence handler. With him it will be serious banter. He will never rant, he can enchant. He'll never rant, he can enchant. You will report to Cary Grant. You must be joking. You must jest with zest. But you look deadly serious. Not delirious, but imperious. But this is not mysterious. It confirms my point of view. A fine actor comes in any hue. What a better spy than a great actor, where the duplicity is the main factor. When the play is the thing, the real plot is the sting. Fighting fascist is the zing. If an actor comes in any hue, what a better spy than a great actor, when the duplicity is the main factor. When the play is the thing, the real plot is the sting. Fighting fascist is the zing. Be careful, Noel. I'm certain this stage has no curtain. Good luck, adieu. Good luck, adieu. Oh, apparently Cary isn't hairy. He shaves his chest. I do not jest. These things come across my desk. Is that grotesque? These things come across my desk. Is that grotesque? No, sir. Chest shaving may be Kafkaesque or Romanesque, even burlesque. But for Cary the Cad, Vanity may be a factor, it's a Hollywood fad.
This chap was kind of unique, wasn't he?
Well, he wasn't the person who crept up on me in the flower bed, was he?
No. Who is this guy?
He's an actor.
One of the things that really emerges in the study of espionage is sex. Spies are sexy. They're sexy with each other. Apparently, they get a big kick out of espionage. And there's seduction of all kinds going on all the time. This is where the James Bond films actually struck a nerve. That was actually quite accurate. The gentleman, sexy spy was an archetype.
Well, I'll tell you something, Coturne. You're one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen.
I think my mouth is too big.
No, it's the right size. For me, that is.
But you don't think of espionage as sexy, but in fact, apparently, all these spies are always, well, shall we say, having relationships with each other and with each other's wives.
Do you love my lips?
Yes. Yes.
Do you love my tummy? Do you love my toes? How about my bottom?
Yes, tragically.
You've mentioned the Mexican embassy and the famous second Lee Harvey Oswald. What are your thoughts now, 2014, on who killed JFK?
There are a lot of things we know now that we didn't know then. In 1997, Lady Bird Johnson released the Oval Office tapes, Lyndon Johnson's Oval Office tapes. On that Oval Office tape is this conversation. It is the day after the assassination and LBJ is back in the White House. Hoover enters the Oval Office. This is on tape. Hoover enters the Oval Office. Hoover says to Lyndon Johnson, "You know, Mr. President," after the congratulations and salutatory exchanges, "You know, Mr. President, that there are two Lee Harvey Oswalds," and explains that a second Lee Harvey Oswald was tracked at the Mexican embassy in Mexico City by the CIA. And Johnson says to Hoover, Johnson is the chief government officer, he says to Hoover, "I know, but let's agree to keep this information from Alan Dulles, who will probably be involved in any investigation of the assassination." So here's the President of the United States and the federal chief law enforcement officer agreeing in a conspiracy to keep vital information about a homicide that took place in Texas. Texas is a hang-in state. That took place in Texas from the very investigative bodies, both in Texas and in Washington, that are handling the investigation of the murder of a president. That is a conspiracy after the fact to cover up what they knew about a murder. That's a capital crime in Texas.
But I don't think that they or me or anyone else is always absolutely sure of every thing that might have motivated Oswald or others that could have been wrong, others that could have been wrong, others that could have been wrong.
Someone drugged me.
And why do you suppose they drugged you?
I found information out. I don't know whether it was the Kennedy assassination information.
Oh, that's big. That's huge.
You think it could be that?
I don't know. Do you know who shot Kennedy?
Well, I think I did.
Well,
I mean, I thought I did. You know, it was a conspiracy.
People have given me a hearing without legal representation or anything. I didn't shoot anybody, no, sir.
Something very bad happened last night. I was at a club in Los Angeles, where I am now, and someone slipped me something in my drink, and the next thing I knew, I was in a hotel room being interrogated by two men. One was English, one was American, and they were asking me really what did I think I was doing with this spy thing, and did I know what I was getting into, and they wanted all my research papers and my everything, the whole thing. Then one of them slugged me in the stomach really hard, and the other one said, "Look, don't. He's an old bloke. Don't do this. We need his cooperation." Next thing I knew, I was dumped outside my apartment here. So I don't know who they were. I don't know what's going on. So really alarming development.
People in Dr. Macquarie Street exit return.
Train station underground, and there's a moving memorial to all little children who were taken off and killed by the Nazis. They were taken off from this very station, some concentration camp. Yeah, here's the monument.
One of the things I wanted to achieve in this film is to give you, the viewer, the feel of what it was like to be a spy. It's confusing. There's terror everywhere. You don't know what's going on. People are untrustworthy. It's a bit of a nightmare.
You know, an interesting thing is that spying used to be more, shall I say, romantic. Nowadays, with computers, it's just keyboards. It just doesn't have the same James Bond savoir-faire, does it? If some geek can download 1.5 million documents on his home computer, I mean, what's happened to all the fun? Where are the martinis?
Not all analysts have the ability to target everything, but I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone, from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president if I had a personal email.
The laundry is a symbol of cleaning. In other words, washing your dirty laundry. Spying. Dirty laundry. Get it? Marilyn Monroe. What was her role in the Cold War?
Marilyn Monroe was a very unwitting agent for both the CIA and the KGB. Once everybody knew that Marilyn was having an affair with JFK, it was very widely known inside the Beltway. The CIA had tapped her phone, and the KGB had tapped her phone, and the FBI had tapped her phone. Everybody had tapped this woman's phone. She was trailing intelligence agencies wherever she went. So they knew that Marilyn had an affair with JFK. They knew that Marilyn and JFK were the same drug-pushing doctor, Max Jacobson. They knew that Marilyn also had an affair with Bobby Kennedy. And when Marilyn began getting passed around from Kennedy to Kennedy, from JFK then to Bobby, she had an affair with him, she became furious. She believed that Jack Kennedy was going to divorce Jackie and marry her. She actually fell in love with the power of being with the Kennedys. When Marilyn got too dangerous, she had to be terminated. That was how the intelligence services looked at it.
Let me ask you, though, also she was involved with communists in the last month of her life, in Mexico City apparently, with some prominent communists, which alarmed Hoover because he knew that she was getting secrets, probably, from the president. In fact, there's even a memo where to Hoover from one of his agents saying that Marilyn Monroe asked JFK about atomic tests.
That's right. One of the things that JFK did was he loved to pillow talk. So for all his mistresses, and there were many of them, the CIA, after his assassination, was running around trying to find them, to find out what they knew. Marilyn was so despondent over that summer of 1962 that she'd gone to Mexico. She was meeting with people that the FBI knew were actual communists, and she had divulged information that Kennedy divulged to her. Specifically, she was talking about the attempts to kill Fidel Castro as well as everything else. That's why it was in the Mexican embassy. The Mexican embassy was a real listening post for the CIA. Because remember, the second Lee Harvey Oswald, the Army general who was like over 6 feet tall, that Lee Harvey Oswald was also visiting the Mexican embassy, and that's how a lot of people knew that there was more than one Lee Harvey Oswald. So yes, Marilyn was indulging in private conversations with known communist agents in Mexico.
So was it possible that Marilyn was a KGB agent?
The way the KGB liked to work in the United States is just like the way the CIA likes to work. And it is, you have these unwitting informants. By following certain kinds of people listening to what they say, you are actually a confidential informant for the KGB. So if you use that as your definition, the answer is yes, Marilyn was working, even though less than inadvertently, for the KGB.
Bingo! I've discovered the spy secret of the 20th century. Marilyn Monroe was a KGB agent. She was sleeping with the President of the United States, JFK, and asking him questions about atomic tests. Hoover got the documents, bugging her. Everyone was bugging her. No wonder. She was a KGB agent. I want to talk about an unsavory thing, really, or some people may think it's beautiful. The female breast. Why do I want to talk about that? Well, the female breast has got spies into a lot of trouble over the years. The female breast is part of history. What about this guy? Do you recognize him at all? Could he have? Was that the man who killed me? You said you saw. Was that? Did he kill me?
I don't know. I don't. He was not in the garden. I don't recognize that guy at all.
Well, he plays a whistleblower.
He's a whistleblower. That was good.
I'm hiding out in Goulburn, New South Wales, Australia, at a friend's home. There are people trying to kill me because of some of the things I've discovered in the course of making this film on the Cold War. So I'm pretty safe here. It's pretty isolated in the Australian landscape here. With time on my hands out here in the outback, I decided to write a book about spycraft. What else? Spycraft. About the disguises one needs to know about codes, about blackmail. I just needed to write down everything that I know.
I've got Daniel Morgan's eyes. I've got a whiskey in my bottle. I've got Daniel Morgan's eyes. If you ask me anything about it, I'll just give you a pack of lies. I may be my father's son. I'm not like him, not one bit. Well, I may be my father's son, but I'm not like him, not one bit.
So far, so good. A lot of flies, though.
When Lyndon Johnson was challenged in the single bullet theory, in the magic bullet theory, by Senator Richard Russell, he says Russell says that he and Jerry Ford, Representative Jerry Ford, later President Ford, but Jerry Ford, are not going to go along with the magic bullet theory. It can't happen like that. And Lyndon Johnson says, I agree with you, but if there was a second shooter and there was no single bullet theory, then that means it's a conspiracy. If it's a conspiracy, we're going to look at the Soviet Union. If we look at the Soviet Union and we get into a war with the Soviet Union, 40 million people will die over the death of one man who's never coming back. Now what do you want to do?
Codes have been around as long as mankind has been around. Look at the hieroglyphics in ancient Egypt. Look at the gates of Babylon. Spy codes can be dance, spy codes can be images, and spy codes can be song.
Subsequent to the submission, the formal submission of the Warren Report, Gerald Ford changed the entrance wound, or one of the wounds in Kennedy's back, to comport with the single bullet theory, because the autopsy at Parkland showed there could be no such thing as a single bullet theory, and the person who was guarding Jackie Kennedy, that Secret Service agent, whose name was Paul Landis, told me to my face that he was walking behind the limo, the presidential limo. His eyes were on Jackie. That was his charge. And the second shot he heard did not come from over his shoulder. That would have been the book depository. The second shot he heard came from in front of the limousine on the side over the bridge. That would have been the grassy knoll over the bridge. And he saw Kennedy's head, the back of Kennedy's head blow off. He said he heard the shot come from in front, he saw the back of Kennedy's head blow off, and that's when he jumped into the limousine to cover Jackie, which was his responsibility. The other nail was that very shortly before the assassination, Kennedy wrote a memo to the CIA and to all the branches of the military, informing them that because the United States was going to go to the moon, he needed all their information. This is a memo, folks can find it. It came out under FOIA from the CIA, that Kennedy wanted all their information from the various military branches and the CIA on what they knew about UFOs, whether real, whether illusionary, whether fake, whether a hoax, didn't matter. He wanted those files because in the memo he said he wanted the Soviets to know that our plans to explore the moon were based on exploration of space and what we knew about UFOs. He was going to share all of that with the Soviet Union to avoid a misunderstanding about guided missiles and mistaken attacks. So that's what happened very shortly before Kennedy was assassinated.
Show me a rose, I'll show you a girl who cares. Show me a rose, or leave me alone. Show me a rose, I'll show you a stag at bay. Show me a rose, or leave me alone. She taught me how to do the tango down where the palm trees sway. I called her Rosamia, and she called a spade a spade. Show me a rose, I'll show you a storm of tears. Show me a rose, or leave me alone.
Well, that's it. What do you think, Greg?
I think I know who did it. Do you remember the scene, the elderly gentleman in the peach shirt that entered the room with the grand piano?
Yes, the butler.
The butler?
That was the butler.
Get the fuck out of here. You can't... The butler did it? I mean, really? I mean, who's going to believe that the butler did it? But I'm telling you, he's the guy that did it.
Don't ask, don't tell, don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask, don't lift the mask. Don't tell or go to hell. Don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask, don't lift the mask. Don't tell or go to hell. Just keep up with ambiguity. That way you keep your annuity. Just keep up with lying. Never show you are crying. Just keep up with lying. Never show you are crying. The laws may have changed, but that doesn't stop the deranged. Oklahoma was once a musical. It was painted as beautiful. Americana became a song in your heart. Then things became torn apart. The bigots and cowards bullied the minority, attacking the modernity. Terrified of truth, terrified of truth. Trying to stop the deranged. Oklahoma was once a musical. It was painted as beautiful. Americana became a song in your heart. Then things became torn apart. The bigots and cowards bullied the minority, attacking the modernity. Terrified of truth, terrified of truth. Terrified of truth, terrified of truth. Trying to stop history. Ignorance is a mystery. Ignorance is a mystery. Don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask.
Yeah, fantastic.
Don't lift the mask.
Fantastic. Now, what can I do for you? You said you had a question.
Yes, I do. The matter of, and I don't want to be indelicate with this. My guy, my boss, you know, he was asking me to talk to you about credit on the film.
Credit?
Yes. Like, how am I going to am I going to have single card?
Well,
written,
look.
Co-written? What I was wondering is
I
that
understand.
I
understand.
I helped finish the movie.
Right.
I pretty much damn near solved this thing.
Right.
And God only knows that was no small feat. You know?
Right.
Because that movie was all over the place.
Right.
You know, and I kind of, you know, honed it in for you and kind of solved your murder. I think that I deserve compensation for that. Compensation, not monetarily, but what I would really like is a producer-writer credit.
Look, couple of things.
Yes.
First of all, Greg, I'm dead. Secondly, I don't know how we do a contract in heaven. Thirdly, I absolutely agree.
Right.
That, you know, no problem about that. But the thing is, as you so carefully pointed out to me, I'm not really here in that world of contracts and all of that. So if you can figure it out for me, if you can figure it out for me, I'd be delighted to give you the credit that you richly deserve.
I am so stupid. I forget. I took this so serious. I got so into it that I thought this at the end. This was the business part of the show business thing that you go through. So, absolutely,
Greg,
you're not here. There is no contract in heaven. There is no.
Greg,
yes.
I think we can solve this. Why don't we both go back down to Los Angeles and let's make a contract there, so we'll have the contract on Earth, and then we'll get back here and we can forget about the whole thing. How about that?
You're shitting me, right?
No, I'm not dinging you. I think that's what we should do. What we go back. I mean, can you get me back down there?
Oh, heck yeah, I can. We're going to Hollywood.
I know.
We're going to go to Hollywood?
I know a couple of lawyers. I've got a good one there, and we'll just take care of this really quickly.
Good God, that's a dream come true.
Let's go.
Jack, I don't believe it. I'm standing on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. It's unbelievable, Jack. How can I thank you? Oh my God. Nobody's gonna believe this up there. Huh. Look at this. Hey, Jack, is that the Chateau Marmont?
It is.
Nice beard.